Today we're going to talk about systemizing a business from the perspective of a business owner. It's very different from then the perspective you might take if you were the operations manager. I'm not going to get into why, but our main goal when we're systemizing a business for a business owner is to be able to extract that business owner from the day-to-day so the business can basically operate without them on a daily basis. So they're not needed every day. And that allows that business owner then to either go and do something else, it allows them to retire, or in most cases, what most business owners want to do is just simply work on the business instead of in it. So it gives you the time to do that by extracting you out of the stuff that you don't want to do. So here's the challenge with that. When most business owners come to us and they say, I want to systemize my business, and I say to them, okay, well, what does that look like? Well, they say, I want to map out all the SOPs and all the processes and everything in the business. Now, the problem here is that we have lots of business owners that come to us when they've already done that, right? So they've already mapped out all their systems and processes and everything, and they've got two main problems. Number one, nobody's following them, and now they're out of date. Okay, so mapping out the processes on its own, I'm not saying it's not important, but mapping out those processes on its own is not what's going to free up the business owner from the business. Okay, so that is not what's going to free up the business owner from the business. And let me explain why. So when we map out standard operating procedure, that's exactly what they are. They're standard operating procedures, so it is standard. So that means when a customer comes in and they want product A and product A is on the shelf, then we can give it to them. Or they come in and they want like service B and pay the price for that, and they're the same kind of customer as we always have, then we can deliver that to them. That's standard, right? That's the same thing that happens day in, day out in our businesses. Now, for the most part, most of our team are able to do that. So if you're in the construction business and you need to build a timber frame, well then your team can probably do that piece, right? If you're in the automotive business and you need to know how to, change the battery on a BMW 520i, your team probably know how to do that. That's not where the issues arise. The issues arise when something is wrong. Okay, so a machine isn't working. When a customer wants a different service, when a customer wants a discount, when a customer has a problem with the service, when a team member is missing. These are all the things that cause the issues for us as business owners. These are all the things that create the firefighting for us, that we have to jump in and solve the problem. So if you think about it this way, the challenge for a lot of us as business owners is somebody sticking their head around the door and saying, that machine is broken, right? That's it. That means we have to stop what we're doing and we have to go out there, we have to look and see what's wrong and probably go call the guy who's going to fix the machine, right? Or somebody comes in and says, okay, we've got a problem with this customer because this product that they've ordered and we said we deliver today, now we can't deliver to them because it hasn't arrived to us. Okay, that's a problem. Now you're going to have to get on the phone with that customer and explain the problem and be able to deal with them. Or there's a problem because this customer wants a discount because they want a slightly different product. Again, somebody's coming into through your door, knocking on the door and saying, okay, we've got this problem with the customer. Now you have to stop what you're doing and go solve that. So that's firefighting, right? Or the internet's down or whatever else it is, right? So those things are non-standard, right? So then how could we solve them with standard operating procedures? So here's the problem, right? We're not able to solve those with standard operating procedure because if we were to start to write out the answers to all those things, we would never stop. And it's always going to be something slightly different. So we've got to be able to stop this thing where people are coming to us with questions like 100 times a day. And I know we often feel like, okay, they're kind of similar questions we answer every day, but there's slight nuances and differences in each of those situations that our team can't see. Now, here's the thing. Why can we answer those with our common sense and our team can't answer it with their common sense? Well, the reason is that they don't have all the information, right? So as a business owner, when I look at my business, I see multi-dimensions. I see all the dimensions of the business. That includes cash flow, strong team members, weak team members, the kind of people we like working with, the kind of people we don't like working with, our pricing structure, my own personal time, all that kind of stuff, right? So we see all that. Our team doesn't, right? Our team doesn't have all those dimensions. And so what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to give our team like what's in our head, right? We need to be able to take what's in our head and give it to the team. Now, I know when I say that to people, they say, well, how could that ever happen, right? And basically what we need to be able to do here is like download our brains and be able to pass that on to the team. And if I say that to you, you probably go, okay, you download my brain, that's probably 3,000 pages and it's built up of all those years experience. And how am I ever going to be able to get that across to your team? So what we actually need to do here is you need to get somebody externally to download your brain, right? And then be able to create from that a very specific structure that in our business we call a one-page framework, which is a decision-making framework that allows the team to be able to make decisions like you do, right? How could that happen? You're probably saying, how could that happen in my business, right? Because my business is complex, right? So this is what we hear all the time. So what our job is to be able to extract that and be able to build a decision-making framework around complexity that your team can easily understand. So this one-page framework tells the team like what your customer wants and what you promise to your customer, where the business is going, like what are all the rules and principles that we use in order to do business, and also what are the regulators around decisions. So if it gets confused sometimes, right, with people saying, okay, well, like I've shared my mission and my vision with my team, and they still don't get it, and that's never going to work, right? Because the mission and the vision is all about kind of like, I suppose, vague promises that we don't always keep, and maybe a destination that we're thinking we might get to. And it's all kind of go-to stuff that's really like looking good for the customer and the kind of stuff that we like to maybe put on our website and that kind of thing. But it's not the kind of tool that your team can use to make decisions. What we need for your team to be able to use to make decisions is a very clean promise to every single customer that's always kept, right? And that exists in your business now. You probably don't even know what it is. You wouldn't be able to articulate it, but it exists there. They also need to have like very specific principles about how you work, right? Now, the problem with that is if I ask you to give me what those principles are, first of all, you can't do it. And secondly, if you were to give them to me, you'd probably give them to me in a way that would not make sense for your team or that your team can't use as a tool every day. So what we need to be able to do is to break those down and build them into really simple structural rules that your team can use as a framework to be able to make calls on things. And another piece, and this is not everything that's in the framework by any means, but another piece that's always missing is what we call regulators. So what are the elements that we balance up with our decision making? So if we say, right, we want like 10 out of 10 customer service, it's never always that, because if you always wanted that, a customer has a problem, the easiest way to give them 10 out of 10 service is just to refund them, right? But that doesn't work for your business. So what kind of regulators do we have in place to regulate those decisions as well? So once we build a framework that's extracted everything from the business owner's head and that's condensed it down and built a kind of a scales that the team can use to measure things up and to make clear decisions just like you do, the team then become able to make decisions that are about 90 to 95% of what you would do in the same situation, which is fine because you also make some mistakes as a business owner. So that's what we need basically to move away from the idea that standard operating procedure is going to get us extracted from the business, to understand that it's not about that. It's about taking the decision-making process that we use every day because we see all the dimensions and being able to build that out for your team, give it to them, teach them how to use it, but then also, and this is another day's work, to put a structure in place to make sure that's being maintained every day so that they stay in touch with it and they don't lose control of it or they don't forget about it. So that's what we do. That is the key thing. If you systemize that, then the rest of it is really, really simple.